Well, hello everyone. Welcome to the new term, a new year at school, a new way of doing church. Now, if you're watching this, then you'll be at home, maybe after a first couple of days at school. How are you feeling? Are you woohoo happy? Are you okay? Or a little bit anxious? Maybe a mix of all three. To feel all these things at once is perfectly normal and perfectly okay. Everyone is working together to make sure we're all safe, we're all well, and we can all be happy. Just know that there are a lot of people who are feeling exactly the same way, even if they don't display it in the same way. Sometimes we can know how other people are feeling because, well, they tell us. Sometimes we can tell how other people are feeling through body language. So that's a little bit cross or a little anxious, or when you're happy you tend to sort of put your shoulders back a little bit like that. And sometimes we can tell how other people are feeling through the expressions on their face, which has become a little bit more tricky since we've had to start wearing one of these. As we start to get out and about a bit more and start going back into our schools, the shops, our church, you're going to be seeing people wearing these a lot more. And because we can only see part of their face, it makes it a bit trickier to understand how they're feeling. But there's a lot that goes on above the mask that gives us a clue. For instance, can you tell I'm smiling? Can you tell I'm surprised? Can you tell I'm puzzled? Can you tell I'm feeling a bit nervous? Can you tell I'm feeling cross? I'm very rarely cross, so that isn't one you'll see very much on me. Well, if you're under 11, the government at the moment is saying that you don't need to wear a mask, but you may be around others who are. They're using them to protect themselves and to protect you. We'll soon get all of these things, used to these things and sorted out, and thankfully our services at church, I won't have to wear one of these, as there are some people who need to see my lips in order to understand what I'm saying because they can't hear so well. But, it's made me realise how it's really important to communicate to one another how we're feeling. At home, this is easy, and I would always recommend you telling your parents how you feel rather than them having to guess by your body language or your facial expressions. In church, we're going to be using emojis to tell each other as a way of communicating because, we're not allowed to talk or shout out or even sing during our worship right now. I wonder if you can think of any other ways we can communicate with one another without using our voices. Maybe thumbs up. Thumbs up, waving, virtual hugs, all things like that. And thankfully, communicating with our amazing God is a lot easier. He knows exactly how we're feeling without having to use emojis or facial expressions. He knows what's going on in our minds and in our hearts, and he longs to communicate his love and care to us. And we hope that whether you're still at home or whether it's your week to be in church, that you will know and understand, as it says in Ephesians 3:18, how wide, how long, how high, and how deep his love is for each of us. Enjoy the service, everyone. Let's worship God and be lights that shine out to others.
I am a city on a hill. I am the light in the darkness. Jesus living in me can change the world. La, 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 la. Let your light shine, let your light shine, let your light shine. Let it shine. Let your light shine, let your light shine, let your light shine. If God is for us, who can stand against us? Let your light shine, let your light shine, let your light shine. Let it shine. If God is for us, who can stand against us? Let your light shine, let your light shine, let your light shine. I will shine for you, burning bright with your light forever. I will shine for you, burning bright with your life. I will shine for you, burning bright with your life. I will shine for you, burning bright with your life.
Well done, everybody. Well, today we're going to be learning about a man who was on a mission. Now, he was really angry about these so-called Christians and the lies they were spreading about how this man had died and come back to life again. And he was on his way to a place called Damascus, which is in modern-day Syria. He was planning to round these Christians up and put them all in prison. His name was Saul, but he was about to meet someone and be completely changed. Let's watch together.
When you read the Bible, there's a guy that really stands out, a man named Paul. Paul was a missionary who wrote the books of Romans, Galatians, and many others in the Bible. But what's really incredible is Paul's story before he became a follower of Jesus. He was a very different person. His name wasn't even Paul. It was Saul, and he hated anyone who followed Jesus. Saul tried to do what was right by following the old laws, but he believed anyone who followed Jesus was wrong, so he chased down Christians and captured them. One day, Saul was given permission to go to a town called Damascus and arrest any followers of Jesus that he found there. But an incredible event happened on the road to Damascus. As Saul got closer to the city, a bright light shone from heaven, blinding him. He dropped to the ground and heard a loud voice coming from the sky.
Saul, Saul, why are you out to get me?
Who are you?
I am Jesus, the one you think is wrong. Get up and go to the city. Then you will be told what you need to do next.
Saul got up from the ground, but he was blind. He couldn't see anything. He was led to Damascus by his men, but for 3 full days, he was blind and didn't eat or drink anything. Now in that city there was a man who followed Jesus. His name was Ananias. He also heard the voice of Jesus.
Ananias, go to the house where Saul is. Place your hands on him, so he will be able to see again.
Ananias was scared because he knew Saul had a bad reputation. He knew Saul hated Christians like him, but the Lord said,
Go. Saul is the man I have chosen to share my good news.
So Ananias went to the house where Saul was staying. He put his hands on him and prayed for God to restore Saul's sight. Immediately, Saul could see again. He quickly chose to follow Jesus, got baptized, and regained his strength with some food. Saul stayed in that city and began to share God's good news with everyone. People knew he was the man who used to hate God and Christians, but they saw that now he was different. God had transformed him. He was no longer the Saul that didn't believe in Jesus. Now he was Paul, who spent the rest of his life serving God.
I hope you enjoyed that story. Now, did you notice the word that was used to describe how Saul was changed? That word was transform. Perhaps you've heard that word before, or perhaps you haven't, but maybe one way to help us think about it is to think of Transformer toys. Anyone ever had one of these toys that transform from a car into a robot? How cool are they? Although when I think about it, the robot can just change back into being a car again, so maybe that doesn't work. So what else have I got here? How about a caterpillar that becomes a butterfly? And once transformed, that butterfly is never going to go back to being a caterpillar again. The butterfly has found new life. He no longer has to crawl around, moving very slowly, taking ages to move from a branch to a tasty looking leaf. Nope, now he's a butterfly. Can you move your wings like a butterfly? Pretend your arms are wings. He's free to move around, to fly from flower to flower and to drink the delicious nectar that God has provided for him. Now Saul was transformed into Paul, but his change of name was just a tiny part of the way in which he was transformed. He was so transformed that he was the complete opposite of the man he was before. Instead of hunting down and imprisoning Christians and trying to stop them from talking about Jesus, he became one of the ones telling everyone else about Jesus. What was so amazing that was everyone knew this man before, and how his hatred of Christians had led him to do such terrible things. And now people saw how meeting with Jesus in that blinding flash of light had caused him to help others meet this amazing, transforming love of Jesus too. Now we can have our lives transformed too. When we meet Jesus, he can turn our sadness into joy, our anxiety into confidence. Now, I'm not saying we're never going to feel sad or anxious again once we've become a follower of Jesus, but what it will mean is that when we face those times, we can hand all of our troubles over to him as we chat and ask for his help as we catch. He can show us to live our lives, a way to live our lives to the full, like the butterfly. We'll never want to live our lives in any other way once we've found the freedom in knowing Jesus. And in turn, that will make our lives shine and draw others to finding out more about Jesus. That is our mission in Holy Trinity and St Saviour's, and for millions of Christians all around the world. We're now going to have our craft time. So you should have been sent a pack in the post where you'll have an outline of a face. So what we're going to do is going to add hair, maybe a beard, and we're going to change it into Paul before he was transformed. Do you remember we talked about expressions before? So let's draw a really angry face on him. Then we'll stick a lolly stick on the bottom, and then we can turn him around completely to face the opposite way and look. His expression instead is filled with love. And that's how we can do our craft today, changing Paul from being a really angry man to being one filled with love because of how he met Jesus on the road to Damascus. There's also some colouring to do and puzzle sheets. And as you do this, why don't you talk together as a family about how you've been changed since becoming a Christian? Maybe you've been a Christian all of your life and it's been a very slow and gradual change. Or maybe it was very sudden and dramatic like Paul. Maybe you're not even sure whether you've met Jesus yet properly. We'll be having our chat and catch next, so why not ask him into your life then? In the meantime, have fun. I'd love to see your creations. If you go to our Glow and Spark Facebook page, you can post your pictures on there. Have fun. So we're now going to have our chat and catch time. Chat and catch, for those of you who've never heard of it before and haven't been following our summer series, is just one of the Parenting for Faith tools that we use to help us talk with and listen to God. God loves us to chat to him, more formally known as prayer, and it's a two-way conversation, so he loves to chat back to us. The ways that may happen is we may hear words in our minds, we may feel an emotion, actually feel a physical sensation knowing that he's with us. We may see a picture form in our mind that communicates what God is trying to tell us. We may have a vision, we may dream dreams. God communicates with each of us in different ways, and the important thing to do is to write it down or draw a picture when he does. So keep a journal, or actually it's great to look back at all the different ways that God has spoken to us. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to give you a folder so that you can put all of your pictures that you're going to be doing over the weeks and all of the sheets that you're using to write down how God has spoken to you. You can keep them all in there so it's all together. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to play some music, and I'm going to put the questions that we can ask of God, and also the things that we can perhaps tell God. So this will just help you shape your conversation, but please feel free to chat and catch with God in any way that he leads you.
There's a mountain in my way, far too high for me to scale. I can't do this on my own. It seems impossible, but I'm choosing to believe what I know but cannot see, and I won't give up, no I won't, because with God anything is possible. With God nothing is impossible. I need to know right now, everything is possible. Lord, how faithful you have been. I've seen it time and time again. You're the God of miracles, and you make all things possible. So when it feels like hope is gone, you'll be my strength, you'll be my song, and I won't let go of the promise that with God anything is possible. need to know right now. Everything is possible. Everything is possible.
Thank you so much, everyone. If you would like to come to church next week instead of being at home, ask your mums and dads to sign up. And remember that things are going to be a little different for a while when we're all meeting together. I've made a little sheet so that you can talk about these things at home with your mum or your dad. And it will just help you understand how things will not be quite the same as they were before, but still we'll be able to enjoy being back together again. There's also take-home sheet, which you can use sort of during the week to explore the story together. And so you should have received that in the post as well. But until next time, let's have a final song as we worship Jesus, because we want to shine for him, but he is our source of light. In fact, he is our lighthouse. Till next time, bye-bye.
In my wrestling and in my doubts, in my failures, you won't walk out. Your great love will lead me through. You are the peace in my troubled sea. Whoa, you are the peace in my troubled sea. In the silence, you won't let go. In the questions, your truth will hold. Your great love will lead me through. You are the peace in my troubled sea. Whoa, you are the peace in my troubled sea. My lighthouse, shining in the darkness, I will follow you. Oh, my lighthouse, I will trust the promise. You will carry me safe to shore, safe to shore, safe to shore, safe to shore. I won't fear what tomorrow brings. With each morning I'll rise and sing. My God's love will lead me through. You are the peace in my troubled sea. Whoa, you are the peace in my troubled sea. Oh, you are my light, my lighthouse, shining in the darkness, I will follow you. Oh, my lighthouse, my